Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. This is our third Path of Exile Build of the Week video, where we show off an interesting character that a player has submitted to us. In recent news, we unveiled our new endgame map system this week, which we're really proud of. I strongly encourage you to go read the development diary about it on pathofexile.com. We've also posted a video demonstrating the use of maps on this YouTube channel. The build I'm demonstrating today is a level 41 Marauder called Cracking Skull. This character is interesting because it attempts to overcome two problems that Marauders often have: how to hit accurately and how to avoid constant use of mana-intensive melee skills. It solves these by investing in two important keystone passives. The first one, Resolute Technique, causes the character to always hit, but never get critical strikes. This means that the build can completely ignore both accuracy and critical strike damage mods, substantially simplifying the stats that the character has to care about. The second keystone, called Blood Magic, allows the character to cast from their life total. This may seem like a drawback, but allows the character to completely forego any mana mods and focus entirely on life, which increases their survivability if they manage it correctly. Life regen is also substantially easier to obtain than mana regeneration. The remaining passive skills focused almost entirely on increasing their life total and regeneration. It's interesting to note that so far they haven't explicitly picked any damage passives other than the small damage increase that each point in strength gives to them. I'm sure advanced players know the tricks that make this build work, but they might not be obvious to beginners. We feel that it's important to occasionally focus on builds that are pretty easy to put together so that players who are having difficulty building a viable Marauder have a good starting point. In order to demonstrate this build in combat, I'm going to travel to the Ruthless Mudflats to test it out. This skill is Lightning Strike. You can use it either at a range like this, sending out lightning projectiles, or hitting targets directly, dispersing the projectiles hopefully at point blank range into the crowd of monsters. This boss here has an aura which resists elemental damage. Because of this, it's probably a bad idea to use such a lightning intensive skill. For this situation, the character has the Heavy Strike skill. Now, one thing you'll notice is the character has a very high rate of natural life regeneration. This is because he has no mana and is focused entirely on getting life and life regeneration. Due to the blood magic keystone that he has, he casts out of his life. This also means that mana reservation skills, such as this aura that increases damage, technically reserve a portion of his life rather than mana. In combat he's pretty dangerous. When I'm playing this character, I prefer to use Lightning Strike. I feel that it has a good amount of crowd control, while also doing decent damage to single targets. He also has Leap Slam, Cleave, and as I mentioned before, Heavy Strike. The other skill he has available is Molten Shell. This casts a protective shield that will detonate, hurting nearby monsters when you take enough damage. As you can see, in that case it did pretty considerable damage to these zombies. In terms of build feedback for this build, I have a couple of interesting things to note. The first one is, the character is pretty low on dexterity. Now this is generally okay, because they have Resolute Technique, which makes it unable for them to miss. They've only allocated a single passive point to dexterity on the way to getting Blood Magic, and because of this, they'll struggle to use any swords higher than a relatively low-level unique one like this. Now this unique extends a little bit above its actual required level in terms of utility. I mean, they're using it at level 41 with decent success, which is quite impressive. But if they want to use higher level swords, such as this one here that might require level 49 and 69 dexterity, they're going to have to find some more somewhere else. There are several options. For example, on the passive skill tree, they have easy access to a bunch of dexterity here. There's 40 points in total with just 2 levels. And they have other options. For example, if they obtained an amulet like this one that has a reasonably high roll of both the implicit and explicit dexterity mod, they can get all the dexterity they need on one item, though it would mean they have to swap out the relatively good amulet they have at the moment. The other option, of course, is they don't have to continue using swords. They haven't locked themselves down to swords on the passive tree. In fact, this build would work extremely well with maces, which would require the amount of strength that they actually have. The only skill that they have which ties them down to swords is Cleave, but as you can see, the character works pretty well without using Cleave. The second thing to note is the way that they've arranged their support gems. It's actually quite interesting. You see here they have added fire damage, junctioned with heavy strike. In the helmet they have lightning strike, weapon elemental damage, life gain on hit. In the armor, life gain on hit with Cleave. And in the boots, leap slam with life gain on hit. Now, with a blood magic build like this, obviously you need a lot of life gain on hit, but they've had to use several different copies of the support gem in order to achieve this. Now in this case they're constrained by the sockets they have available. As you may know, skill gems are supported by things that are linked together, and if you have small groups of 2, like in this case, if you want to support multiple skills with life gain on hit, you're just going to have to use a lot of redundant sockets. If they were to obtain an item like this one that has 5 linked sockets, and I understand that's something that they arbitrarily made using cheats, rather than one that they've actually found, then they can get quite a lot more synergy, requiring a lot less skills overall. So if I want to load up all of their attacks into this one weapon, first of all I pick a life gain on hit gem. This level 9 one looks good. I throw that in. I also pick their lightning strike, their heavy strike, their cleave, and one other support, for example the weapon elemental damage that they benefit so much from in lightning strike. Now this means that all 3 skills that are socketed into this weapon gain the benefit of 2 supports. That would require an awful lot of sockets to do another way. Now there may be more optimal combinations here. For example, I don't like their use of cleave, so we take it out and put in, for example, leap slam. Or we can take out the added fire damage from over here, take out leap slam, throw that in. Now they've got 3 supports on 2 skills, which potentially means they're going to do a lot more damage each. I don't know how well this particular build will do at higher levels, particularly in our new endgame map areas that are very challenging, but it looks really good so far. I suspect that with a decent 5 or 6 link socket item with a lot of damage, it'll be pretty effective. We currently do have some balance concerns with melee combat, and we'll hopefully address those in the next few patches. Path of Exile is currently in closed beta. If you'd like to play it before it enters open beta later this year, please buy a supporter pack from www.pathofexile.com. If you have built a character that you'd like us to feature in one of these videos, just let us know on the forums. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and consider following us on Twitter and Facebook. Thanks very much for watching, and see you next week.